Welcome to the Dude Catholic Podcast. I'm your co-host Adrian here with two men who are better than one.
I'm Ramon.
This is Javier Sandoval. The one, the only. You may remember him from a few podcasts ago. Couldn't stay away from him, so here we are. Dude Catholic Manor, recording live. Though you're not hearing it live. You know, we've said this before. Anyway, just FYI, you may hear some background noise. A lot of helicopters going by. It is LA County. And we have some interesting stuff happening. And I think that's the reason why we're recording this podcast. We're going to do a little bit of social commentary on what's been happening nowadays. First thing is, we're going back to Mass, guys. Mass has come back. We are, like I said, in Los Angeles County, which means we are part of the Archdiocese of Los Angeles. And that means that there's a lot of stuff happening, and all the little whining that I've been doing for a couple of podcasts already, that's coming to an end. And yeah, no, it's good. It's good because I was getting a little restless, and I think a lot of us Catholics in LA were getting a little bit restless, very much considering some like underground masses or whatever. I know there's no priest doing that now. Wink, wink. But yeah, no,
you can neither confirm nor deny.
Exactly. So yeah, that's one of the ways that I was going to open this. Is that yes, we're going back to Mass, and there's a couple of other things happening in society. There was that killing of George Floyd.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Oh, thank you for joining us today, guys.
Well, yeah, it sucks, man. It sucks. It sucks, and it just sucks. That's it. Like well, what else can I say? It sucks. It's just terrible. What a horrible tragedy. It's pretty cool that like, man, a lot of people like me.
I like you.
A lot of people like me, and they've been texting me and like, hey man, I hope you're doing all right out there. And I think people don't know that. Like, hey dude, I as my job right now is to be in the jails. However, we are a deployable force. And we do have our riot gear and all that stuff, like, ready to go at all times. Not just because times are crazy right now, but just at all times. And it's crazy because, like, 2 days ago, I got off from work after working a double. So it was pretty dark outside. It was at night. And I park on the 10th floor of the parking structure. I saw 9 helicopters over downtown LA. It was like a couple blocks away too. And then I see all this fire, and it was just this eerie beauty. It feels wrong calling it beauty. It looked nice because it was so much light. It was like, man, like stuff just hit the fan. And you see all that fire, all those cops, all those helicopters. It's like, dude, wow, crazy times indeed. That's why the whole all this is because of that man that was killed in Minnesota. George Floyd, right? And that's his name, yeah. So that's why when people are like, oh, what do you think? It's like, well, it sucks, dude. Like, whether you're a cop or not, no cop gets trained to put their knee on somebody's neck like that. It's terrible. People have asked me about that too, because, my line of work and all that. There's an honorable cause to it, and hurting people's businesses is not honorable. Again, there's some stuff that may not make it in the podcast about revolution.
Yeah, but we had a previous conversation about that.
Yeah, and it's I guess people just don't know about revolution.
And that's part of it. That's a big part of it. The fact that it doesn't matter. It doesn't need to make it into the podcast. But what's at the root of it is that it's a sign of how. I don't even say how far we've come along, but how far away we've gone from actually the heroic. We've really seen very little to no evil in our day. There's a reason why socialism is so big in some circles. It's because they haven't seen it. it's the reason why people call certain things evil is because they haven't actually seen that evil. What is a fascist? What the heck is communism? Like all these things, like we're so far removed from here in this society that we're in, and especially here in California. Like we're so far removed that we call something like staying at home and playing video games heroic. Forget storming the beaches in Normandy. Like, oh no, sit on your butt, play video games, stay inside, and you're a hero. We're all in this together. Like, I hated how they cheapened that saying, because we're all in this together we're actually going through a struggle. And I'm sorry, but I can't do this or I can't do that, and I have to stay home and play video games and have takeout all the time. Like, that is not a struggle. And so we're kind of in this situation where it's like we're I don't know, there's a lot of fear mongering, there's a lot of crap, and there's a lot of mediocrity that seems to be confused with heroism in these days. And I think we need to look a little bit further, but not that much further, to realize what is actually evil and what is actually heroic.
Yeah, I mean, thinking about the riots that are going on in the 30 different cities, I think, across the United States, and thinking about what just happened to this man, and he's not the first victim of violence in our society by anyone. Innocent man dying anyway. The response that we as Catholics should give. Yes, should we protest? Yes, should we fight for justice? Of course, but there's a way of doing those things, and who better to look to than Jesus Christ, than the early Christians, than the church throughout the centuries. That the church has constantly been persecuted by other people. And how did Jesus respond in the midst of all that? How did they protest? Well, they used the pacifist way of protesting, right? That they would say their statement, they would stand there, and they would, basically just take it. They would just take it, right? Whatever it was, they would take it. Yes, they would make their presence felt, etc., but they wouldn't fight back. They wouldn't retaliate. They wouldn't, meet violence with violence, right? We look at Gandhi. We look at, Martin Luther King. We look at Cesar Chavez, great leaders of the world who employ these tactics as well, that you don't fight violence with violence. And so the response, should we be angry? Yes. Should we protest? Yes, but it's all in how we do that. And I think it's very important as Catholics that first we pray. That's number one. We got to pray. We got to pray for our society. We got to pray for everything that's going on. I mean, this is like the perfect storm, right? Like all these people are in quarantine. They have all this energy pent up, and they've lost their jobs. They're unemployed, and they're going through all this stuff. And then they see this on TV, this man dying, saying he can't breathe, and crying out for his mother, for his last breath. I mean, that is just heartbreaking. That was just the perfect storm for this, bomb to be set off in our country, and fuel so much the anger that people already have towards authority or towards the police or whatever. So we respond, but we respond as Christians. First, by praying, and second, yes, can we protest? Yeah, doesn't mean that you can't protest if you're a Christian, if you're Catholic, but again, with peace, right? You say no justice, no peace, okay, but is that really the Christian model? No, right? No justice, no peace? No, we bring peace, right? It's one of the Beatitudes, right? To be a peacemaker, regardless of whether there's justice. We don't we don't wreak violence just because there's no justice. That we always are called to be peacemakers, and I think it's very important to keep that in mind during this time.
Yeah, blessed are the peacemakers, right? That's one of the Beatitudes. And I saw this post online. You guys might have seen it. It got pretty popular. I saw it on Instagram with what's the account? Catholic Connect. And it was a series of pictures of this police officer that got separated from his squadron And it was just him by himself in a sea of angry people. And then it's crazy because people are trying to make this into a racial thing just because the man that was killed was a black man, but it's not even about a racial thing. I think that they just do that because it's more views, you know. The media does this, but that was the man that got killed for no reason. Anyway, whatever. The reason why I brought race was because the police officer was not a black man, yet he was being protected. It was like a human barricade of black people protecting him. These people understood what they were there for. Yeah, those people understood, like, yeah, like you were saying, Javier, like, yeah, you can protest, you can do all this and that, but that doesn't mean that you have to act like the people acting right now, dude. They saw a police officer that was gonna get probably murdered, and they protected him because they understand clearly why they're there. They're not there to hurt anybody. They're there to protest, to make their voices heard, and rightfully so. And that's how we bring change. You know, we've been talking about, like, we don't fight fire with fire. We have to be the example. That's the whole point we're trying to make here. We have to be the example among all these people. This is just a reflection of what's really going on in our hearts. You know, this quote-unquote quarantine, it seems like a lot of people are just wasting this free time to better themselves, to become better versions of who they were, closer to God. I mean, you name it. Instead of moving forward, they're just staying stagnant. And what happens to water in a pond? It starts stinking and it develops scum. That's why you start becoming scumbags, dude, like straight up.
I like that. I like what you did right there. Since I rudely interrupted, I do like that because it's true. You know, it starts developing mosquitoes. I was thinking West Nile virus, and then my brain was gonna go to coronavirus. But bring it back to what you were saying. You know, yeah, it speaks more about who you are, who I am. You know, this time that we have by ourselves or with our family, it really brings everything out. You know, it brings out our personality. Who are you? You are who you are when no one's looking. Or you are who you are when you think no one's looking. And whether you're with your family and, you know, time passes by and you can't get away from them and your defenses have to come down, you know, and you show your true colors. Like, you show whether or not you value the people who you're with. It shows whether or not you value yourself. It shows whether or not your heart is pure when you're by yourself. You know, and one thing, I don't know why, I just kind of thought about this, you know, like, hey, people may not realize that, or maybe they do realize it, you know, like I think everyone realizes that we don't have the Sunday obligation, and the bishops have told us that and whatnot, and we don't have, because we don't have Mass, you know, and we don't have confession, so that obligation is kind of out there. But that doesn't mean that we don't have to go back to confession once we're done with this time, all right? That doesn't mean that we get to omit the sins that we kind of just went to God and confessed them for. I just wanted to throw that out there because I don't know if people are thinking about that, and if they are, then cool. If they're not, then now you know, hey.
Nah, our leadership kind of sucks too. Like,
yeah.
Who doesn't have the internet? Even the freaking Obama phones have internet, dude. You can always stream the Mass. So that's why when these punks that are in our leadership, when they say, oh, it's not an obligation. Bull. It is an obligation. Dude, really? Like, this is the stuff that's going to lead us to heaven? It's like, oh, don't worry about it, bro. Screw you. No, it is an obligation. It is an obligation.
It is.
Yeah, straight up.
Because you know what happens when... I tell you, I was mad, you know, like, just, I'm gonna anyway, but no, like, you're kind of speaking to where I was, you know, like, in my heart. And we're not saying any names, just saying, you know, there's a lot of leadership out there that really stinks, you know, and we're not being challenged. Like, we're really okay. Say names, I don't care, man. But like, we're not being challenged, you know, and this podcast is for men. You know, if you're one of our sisters listening, thank you. More power to you. You know, you are going to be holding people accountable, and that's good. You know, but like, we're not being challenged, and we're not growing. we're staying as boys. We're not becoming men. Because boys take and men give, right? And if we're not being challenged to give something, we're not being challenged to be men. And we're being told, oh yeah, you don't have to do this, you don't have to do that because of your circumstances. And that only breeds garbage. So I noticed because I was being a brat, I got mad and I'm like, man, I'm not gonna watch Mass. And I didn't for 2 weeks, and I noticed the difference. So don't come to me with that. It's not obligatory. You don't have to. It's not a duty to do that, because I noticed the difference, even if it's just online. I noticed the difference in my heart, and I noticed the difference in the way I relate to the people around me, and especially those that are in my own household. So today, which is Sunday, as we're recording, you better believe I got my family to sit down on the couch, and we saw Mass. Why? Because it has an effect, and it does freaking matter. It does matter, and when you go back, and when we're going back this week, I guess, things are going to come back slowly. However, they're going to trickle it down. And we need to go to confession. We need to say the stuff that we did when no one was looking. We do need to get back on track. And hopefully this time was not wasted. Hopefully this time, and like we mentioned in a previous podcast, the people that say, oh, the rosary is not really my thing. Freaking make it your thing. Man up and use the weapon that Our Lady has said will be key, or is the
battering ram
boom,
in this battle.
From Our Lady to St. Dominic.
Be.
Say that again. That was beautiful.
Hold on, I think I have it saved.
Man, I'll just say it from memory then. That the rosary has always been and always will be the battering ram in this battle.
There you go, that's it.
Our Lady to St. Dominic. Something to that effect. And that's the thing. It's not your thing. Make it your thing. Seriously, we need to be called out. And yeah, just like I was called out a couple of weeks ago, because, not doing push-ups. Yeah, no, you might have missed it, Javier, but I talked about man boobs. So I'm like, you know what? I got a shirt because I've been getting the smaller size, and it didn't flatter me. And you know what? Sometimes we need to be called out, because if we don't, nothing's gonna happen. And that's something that's kind of unique to brotherhood. Guys, we need fellowship. Why? Because we need to be called out. We have a tendency to take shots at each other. But this is where the difference is made between secular relationships and actual Christian relationships between men, is that we get called out in our inequities, not just to make fun of each other, but actually to thrust the other into greatness. And that's one of the things. If you're not doing push-ups, do some friggin' push-ups. Become the person, the protector that your family needs. No, I'm serious. I'm kind of tired of all these chubby guys like myself. I'm talking about myself right now. Who are well-versed in theology, but cannot do a freaking burpee. How are you going to protect your family if you're not making yourself into someone that the wolf has to contend with? If they can just run you over, they will. And so you need to make yourself ready, willing, and available to be that person that your family needs. Not just spiritually speaking, which is very important, because eternity matters, but physically speaking, because your family needs someone to get up in the middle of the night and lay down their lives if necessary.
Yeah, especially being in quarantine, for me at least, a person that was in the seminary, was part of a men's fraternity group at Franciscan University called the Knights of the Holy Queen, and now teaching at all boys school. The importance of community, of fraternity, of is so important. It's so important, especially right now, but it's very difficult to have that right now. It has, at least for me, it's been, and for a lot of people, I'm sure. But I think I want to comment on something else, but it is very important, and I do want to say, though, it's essential to the Christian life. We've always come to God as a community from the Old Testament. God created us to be family, right? Father, the wife, and the son. Family, community. That the most basic unit of society is the family. Father, Son, pouring Himself out to each other. The Holy Spirit, right? God is family, right? He's not a solitude. So I think it's so important, even though we are in solitude, a lot of us. Which is horrible if you don't have family at home, and I feel for you if you don't have anybody at home. But I think it's important to seek that out, and I just wanted to point that out. One of the things that I want to also talk about is, which was what I'm always talking about, was the leadership of the church, and I'm definitely on on the same track with that. I have a lot of problems. I've had a lot of problems with the leadership of the church, locally, nationwide, globally, not to be specific, and it's been very difficult for me as a Catholic. I have personally sometimes just even turned off Catholic radio. I don't want to listen to anything that I hear from the local bishop or from Bishop so and so or whoever. And I don't want to get specific because I just don't want to, I don't want to badmouth anybody. But anyways, I do say that we are Catholic not because of Bishop so and so or Pope so and so or Father so and so or Sister so and so. We're Catholic because we believe in Jesus Christ. We're Catholic because we believe he established a church, and we believe in the sacraments, right, as our lifeline to God. And I think it's so important to keep that in mind, regardless of what the church does, to remember that the reason why we have a relationship with God, the reason why we're Catholic, the reason why we go to church. And as we get ready to go back to church, which hopefully all of us will, I know we're going to be very afraid to go into the church and, the whole COVID-19 and, am I going to get the coronavirus if I go to Mass? And, how am I going to receive the Eucharist and all this, and to each his own, make those decisions with you and your family. But obviously, highly encourage you to go to Mass. There's going to be all kinds of forms. I know that I was at Blessed Sacrament in Orange County where I found confession. And those of you who need to go to confession and you're LA County residents, you can go over to Orange County. I know LA County has some places where they have masses on Saturday. Confession on Saturday as well. And I remember when I was there, one of the things they were saying is that the way they're going to start doing Mass is that they're going to start doing it in the parking lot. A lot of churches are going to start having Mass in the parking lot so they can spread everybody out. You're going to have to bring your own chair, your own umbrella and stuff like that. So just FYI, you can go to Mass and feel safe, social distancing, that whole nine, following all those, protocols. And it's important to get back to Mass. I know that we've developed the habit of not going to the sacraments. And it's not our fault. I'm not, we're not pointing fingers here that we're not going to Mass, right? It's nobody's fault. But to try to reestablish these habits is going to be very difficult. I know that. To get back into a routine of prayer, of holding each other accountable, all these different things it's all going to take time. But obviously, it's something we should strive for, and it's something that we should, as Catholics, obviously be able to ease our way back. And as Adrian said, the first thing we need to do is go to confession, right? We definitely need to go to confession. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you think you're a saint, whatever. You got to go to confession. You haven't gone to confession in a long time. Obviously, if you're on the same boat as I am, you haven't gone to confession in 2 months, then get yourself in the box, get cleaned up. As the Bible says, the average sinner, righteous man sins 7 times a day or something like that. Right? Jesus said. So we all sin, right? We all fall short to the glory of God, and so we all need to go to confession first, and then take it slowly but surely, and reestablish our connection with God and with each other.
Yeah, there's no room for being a punk, man. Like if you really want it, you go find it. Confession, yeah, it was kind of hairy. But dude, Mass. Come on, man. Come on. Go to Mass. Watch Mass. Stream it. Something. Do something, dude. Freaking do something. Your salvation this is how you get to heaven. This is how we get home. And then if you're just following along our weak leadership, and it's kind of funny at this point.
It is.
Because I'm fired up, man. True, man. These people are supposed to be leading the way. And they're like, don't worry about it, bro. Nah, bro, you don't worry about it. I'm going to go to Mass. I'm going to worship my God. But that's what I'm saying. Like, dude, if you really want it, you're going to freaking find a way. Make it important. If not, then that's on you. But just remember that there's a God that's crazy about you. And he's looking for you. So... well, why don't we give him the same courtesy?
Yeah, buddy. That's the thing. On a serious note, it's what it is. We need to really, or at least me. I'm thinking about the thing I tell my kids at consecration time. Whoever I'm sitting next to, I I whisper to their ear, like, this is the most important thing. So it's time for me to, like, put up or shut up. Mass is starting. We know that the county next to us, like, especially me, I live in Whittier. It's like the next city over is the OC, you know. I need to make it a priority. I need to make it so that my kids know that this is indeed the most important thing. You know, and I really wanted to bring to light something that's none of my business to share, but our older brother, we mentioned him, awesome guy.
He's alright.
He goes to AA, this guy, and he's been clean for a while now, and it's really cool. A thing I take great pride in, you know, or he should take great pride in. I take great pride in him, and when this whole Corona thing hit, no one wanted to go. Like, well, people wanted to go to the meetings, but some very loud people that you may be familiar with, started making excuses and saying, "Oh no, we can't, we shouldn't, no, oh no, we gotta, no," and at the meeting where they were discussing this, he's like, "Man, I'm gonna clean it up," because the way he said it was not politically correct. You know, it was not for little ears.
It was rated R.
Rated R. Yeah, but it was something to the effect of, cowards don't go to war. So you don't have to come to the meeting. If you come, we're gonna social distance. We're gonna, you know, be seated 6 feet apart. We're gonna wear masks. We're gonna disinfect. But this group has saved a lot of people. And it's no different. And as a matter of fact, it's an even greater thing, a greater seriousness than that of that very important group. Mm-hmm. The mass is why the world keeps turning. This is the one thing that God said we must do in remembrance of Him. It is the thing that saves lives. It is the thing that saves souls for all eternity. You know, and so, yeah. If you don't want to go, you know, war was not meant for cowards. The mass is not meant for cowards. And I'm saying this with all the love in my heart. You know, I'm saying this like wholeheartedly. People, you don't have to go. But if you're listening to this podcast, chances are you're gonna not take offense at what I just said, because you're one of those people that's not afraid to go to war. You're one of those people that's not afraid to witness to your family and to society and anyone else who's listening and watching, but most importantly to our Lord, that you're there because He's calling you.
And now is the time we need God more than anybody in our society, in our families, and in our hearts. You know, this is what's been so difficult. I know for me personally, to, you know, take the blow of isolation, of quarantine, of, you know, not having community, and then on top of that, not being able to have access to the sacraments. Again, it's so important. Now more than ever, we need God. And if you don't believe me, turn on the TV. Turn on the TV. We need God in our society. This is what a godless society looks like, right? Fear, violence, right, etc. You know, because when you don't have justice being met with mercy or justice being met with peace, things spiral out of control quickly. And, you know, so bringing God back into our families, bringing God back into our hearts, bringing God back into our society is vital for our society. It's vital for us. It's vital for our families. So however you wish to do that, because, you know, we can't tell you what to do. But yeah, go to Mass. Because ultimately that's the only way you're going to get back on track. It's the only way you're going to get back on track. And that's the only way, ultimately, our society is going to get back on track. Because a godless society is you know, is hopeless, is faithless, and definitely no love.
So pray for us.
And we'll pray for you.
Ferrum,
Ferro.
aquitu.
can't tell you what to do. But yeah, go to mass.
Oh, we will. We will tell you what to do. You don't have to do it.
But go to mass. Go to confession.